Life's got a way of putting us through trials, hasn't it? It'll make you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. But here's the truth. There are moments in life where the only thing left to do is let go and let God handle it. It takes a whole lot of faith, patience, and courage. But once you leave it in his hands, things start to happen. You know, there's a point in everyone's life where you're going to hit a wall. Maybe you're out here grinding, trying to make things happen, putting in every ounce of effort you've got. But still no results, no breakthrough. Is frustrating. It makes you question yourself, question if you're even good enough. But what if I told you that maybe you're stuck because this isn't meant to be your battle? Sometimes that wall you're hitting is a sign that you're in a place you shouldn't be trying to break down on your own. We all want to think we're in control, that if we just push hard enough, we can change things. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get to control every outcome. That's the reality. You can't make people act in a certain way. You can't force situations to turn out exactly as you plan. And the more you try, the more frustration you're going to feel. Real power doesn't come from fighting every fight. It comes from knowing which ones you're supposed to leave to a higher power. Now, that's not an easy thing to accept. It means letting go of pride, letting go of that voice in your head that says, I can handle this on my own. We want to believe we can fix everything and that every problem has a solution if we just dig in and fight harder. But sometimes you've done all the digging you can do, and there's no gold at the bottom. That's the moment to step back and recognize that it's beyond you. Leaving it to God isn't about laziness or apathy. It's about wisdom and maturity. It's about knowing that some challenges are bigger than you. And that's okay. You're not weak for stepping back. You're strong for recognizing that you don't have to do it all. You're wise to realize that some battles are meant to be given up to someone with a much higher perspective. You must remember that God sees the whole picture. While you're standing there with your face against that wall, he's seeing what's on the other side, what's down the road, what's going to be best for you in the long run. When you keep trying to control it all, you're missing out on the bigger vision, the better things he's got planned. So take that step back and let him handle what's beyond your reach. When you truly accept what's beyond your control, there's freedom in that. A weight lift. You're no longer wasting energy fighting battles that aren't yours. You're not constantly frustrated, exhausted, or disappointed. Instead, you're free to focus on what you can control and let God handle the rest. You can move forward stronger and more focused, trusting that he's got you, that he's taking care of things on a level he can't even imagine. A lot of people hear the word surrender and think it means throwing in the towel, waving a white flag saying, I can't do it. But surrendering to God isn't about quitting. It's a different kind of strength, a quiet confidence that says, I don't have to carry this all by myself. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. When you surrender to God, you're not giving up on your dreams. You're just acknowledging that you need help to reach them. You see, there's a difference between quitting and surrendering. Quitting is when you let go because you're too tired, too discouraged, or too defeated. But surrendering to God is about letting go with purpose. It's saying, I'm not going to keep struggling against this when I know there's a bigger plan at work. It's the understanding that your life isn't just about what you can accomplish on your own, but what God can do through you when you let him in. We all have moments when we feel like we've hit a wall, like we can't go any further. And that's when surrender becomes powerful. Instead of giving up, you're handing it over. You're not walking away from your path. You're just letting someone much stronger take the lead. It's trusting that God knows the way better than you do, that he's got the directions when you're feeling lost. Surrender isn't a moment of weakness. It's a moment of trust. You're putting your faith in a bigger power, a wiser plan. You're not letting go of your dreams. You're just saying, I'm not going to try to do this all alone. Because let's be real, sometimes life throws things at you that are too heavy to carry alone. There's no shame in saying, I need help. When you surrender, you find peace. Instead of stressing over every step and every decision, you let God take the lead. You're not giving up on your life. You're giving your life a better chance to thrive. You're not stepping back. You're stepping up by letting someone stronger guide you. And that takes real courage, real faith. So remember, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means you're wise enough to know when to step aside, when to let go of the wheel and let God drive. It's knowing that you don't have to handle it all because you're not alone. It's a powerful act of faith to say, I'm letting this go, and I trust that God's going to carry me through. Worrying is one of those things that creep in when you least expect it. You think you're fine, but then a small concern starts to snowball. Before you know it, you're lying awake at night, playing out every worst-case scenario, stressing over things you can't change. But what does worrying do for you? Does it solve the problem? No. All it does is drain you, take up your energy, and leave you more tired and anxious than before. Worrying won't get you where you want to be. Think about it. Every hour you spend worrying is an hour of peace stolen from you. It's an hour you'll never get back. And for what? When you worry, you're just letting fear control you. Worry is faith in the wrong direction. Instead of putting your trust in what could go right, you're investing all your energy in what could go wrong. And that fear becomes a cycle. It holds you back, keeps you frozen, and makes you doubt every decision. It's time to break that cycle. God doesn't want you to live like that. He didn't cause you to be bogged down by fear. He wants you to have peace, to trust that He's in control, even when you can't see the full picture. When you worry, it's like you're saying, I don't trust you to handle this. But He's ready to take that weight from you. He's standing there with open arms, just waiting for you to say, I can't carry this anymore. So how do you release that worry? You start by acknowledging that you can't handle it all by yourself. It's a simple thing, but it's powerful. You say, God, I'm giving this to you. I'm trusting that you have a plan, that you know what's best for me. It's not a one-time thing. It's a daily, sometimes even hourly choice to hand over that worry, to choose faith over fear. When you release your worries, you'll notice a shift. That heaviness, that anxiety, it starts to lift. You find yourself breathing easier, sleeping better, and feeling lighter. You're no longer carrying a weight that you were never meant to bear. And that frees you up to focus on what matters, to put your energy into things that bring you joy and purpose. God's got you. He's bigger than any problem you're facing, stronger than any fear that's keeping you up at night. When you hand over your worries to Him, you're not giving up. You're gaining peace. You're choosing to let go of what you can't control and let Him handle it. Because at the end of the day, He's the only one who truly can. Faith isn't just sitting back and hoping things will work out. It's not a passive belief that everything will magically fall into place without you lifting a finger. Faith is active. It's about taking steps forward, even when the path isn't clear. It's believing in what you can't see, trusting in what you can't prove, and moving forward anyway. Faith is putting one foot in front of the other, even when you're unsure of the ground beneath you. You can't just say, I have faith, and then do nothing. Faith without action is empty. If you truly believe that God's got a plan for you, that He's guiding your steps, then you've got to get up and start walking. You might not know where you're going, but you trust that He does, and that trust pushes you forward, even when every part of you wants to stay put, to play it safe. It takes courage to step out in faith. It's easy to stay where you are, to cling to what's familiar, even if it's not what's best for you. But faith calls you to more. It calls you to move, to grow, to reach for what's ahead, even if it scares you. Faith doesn't promise a clear path, it promises a worthy destination. And every step you take is a step toward that promise. You've got to understand that faith isn't about avoiding challenges. Faith often leads you straight into them. But it's in those moments when you're facing uncertainty that your faith grows the most. That's when you learn to rely on God, to trust that He's there, guiding you through every twist and turn. Faith doesn't remove the obstacles, it gives you the strength to overcome them. So don't be afraid to act. Don't let fear hold you back from the life you're meant to live. Faith isn't about sitting still, it's about moving forward even when you don't have all the answers. It's about trusting that God will meet you on the other side of every step you take, that He's already prepared the way, even if you can't see it yet. When you live with active faith, you're showing God that you trust Him and that you believe in His plan for you. You're saying, I don't need to know every detail because I know you're in control. And that kind of faith moves mountains. It changes you. It pushes you toward a life filled with purpose and possibility, a life that's richer and deeper than you could have imagined on your own. One of the hardest things to accept in life is timing. We want things now. We want success now, love now, and answers now. But God doesn't operate on our schedule. His timing is different. And trust me, it's always better. When you rush, you risk missing out on the perfect moment He has planned for you. You might be ready, but maybe the world around you isn't ready yet. Maybe the situation isn't ready. Maybe there's something better in store and you're being asked to wait for it. Think about all the times you rushed into something and then realized later that it wasn't the right fit. Maybe it was a job you thought was your dream, only to find out it wasn't what you needed. Or maybe it was a relationship that seemed perfect at first, but ended up hurting you. Hindsight shows us how important timing is. God knows what's best. And sometimes that means waiting longer than you like. Waiting isn't easy, especially when you're ready to move, ready for the next chapter. It can be frustrating, even discouraging. But God doesn't make you wait without purpose. There's a reason behind every delay. Maybe He's teaching you patience, or maybe He's preparing you for something greater than you can see right now. Every day you wait is a day He's working on your behalf, setting things up for your success. During the wait, you have a choice. You can either stress over the delay, question why it's taking so long, or you can trust that God's timing is perfect. You can use that time to grow, to strengthen your faith, to prepare yourself for the blessings that are coming. Waiting with a purpose is powerful. It turns a frustrating season into a season of growth and preparation. When the right time finally comes, you'll see why you had to wait. Things will fall into place in ways you couldn't have orchestrated on your own. You'll look back and realize that every delay, every moment of waiting was worth it. God's timing is never a second late or a second early. It's always just right, exactly when you need it most. So embrace the waiting season. Don't see it as wasted time. See it as a gift. God's timing is better than yours because He sees the whole picture. He knows what you need when you need it. Trust in that even when it's hard. Because when His timing finally comes, you'll understand why it couldn't have happened a moment sooner. We're all guilty of it, trying to control every little detail, to force things to go exactly the way they should. We want to shape the outcome and make things happen on our terms. And when they don't, we push harder. But forcing it only creates frustration and disappointment. When you try to control everything, you're saying that you don't trust God to handle it. You're saying, I've got this. I don't need your help. Life isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about flowing with what comes, learning to adapt, and trusting that things will work out in their way. When you force something, it's like swimming against the current. You're exhausted, stressed, and constantly fighting. But when you let go, when you trust that God has a better plan, you're able to move with the current. It's easier, it's smoother, and it's more peaceful. Trying to force things makes you miss out on the beauty of the journey. You're so focused on reaching the destination, on making things happen the way you want, that you miss the lessons along the way. Life isn't just about the result. It's about what you learn, who you become, and the people you meet on the way there. When you force things, you rush past all of that. There's a big difference between effort and force. Effort is putting in the work, showing up and doing your best. Force is trying to make things happen that aren't meant to happen yet. When you put in effort, you're doing your part, but you're leaving the outcome to God. When you force things, you're trying to take over His role, trying to control what's meant to unfold naturally. Trust that what's meant to be yours will be yours. You don't have to manipulate, push, or stress over it. What God has for you will come to you, and it will come in a way that feels right, and that aligns with who you are. You'll know it's meant for you because it will come with peace, not struggle. Detours happen when you least expect them. You're on a path feeling like you're finally getting somewhere, and suddenly life throws a curveball. You're redirected, maybe even pushed in a direction you never planned to go. And it's frustrating, isn't it? You think, I was doing everything right. Why is this happening now? But here's the thing. Detours are often where the most growth happens. They take you out of your comfort zone, challenge you, and make you rely on a strength you didn't know you had. When you're in the middle of a detour, it's easy to feel like you're lost, like you've been thrown off track and there's no way back to where you wanted to be. But maybe that's because you're not supposed to go back. Sometimes God redirects you because where you are headed isn't actually what's best for you. He sees the road ahead and He knows where you're truly meant to go. The detour isn't a mistake. It's a part of the plan, a piece of the journey you need to experience. Trusting the detour means letting go of your timeline and embracing God's. It means realizing that while you might have had a plan, there's a bigger one at work. You're not seeing the whole picture right now, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. When you trust that the detour has a purpose, you free yourself from the need to control every step. You allow yourself to flow with where life takes you instead of resisting it. Detours can bring unexpected blessings. You meet people you wouldn't have met, learn lessons you wouldn't have learned, and discover strengths you didn't know you had. Sometimes what feels like a setback is setting you up for something much greater. But you won't see that if you're too focused on how things should be. Trusting the detour allows you to be open to new possibilities, to things that might be better than what you had planned. It's human nature to resist change, especially when it disrupts the plans you've made. But think about all the times in your life when something unexpected happened and it ended up being the best thing for you. Those moments didn't happen by accident. They were detours, divine redirections meant to bring you closer to where you're supposed to be. When you look back, you see how each detour shaped you, taught you, and prepared you for the next step. So the next time you find yourself on a detour, don't rush to get back on the right path. Instead, take a breath and trust that there's a reason for it. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if you don't understand it right now, have faith that this is part of the journey. Trust the detour, because it's often the detours that lead us to our true destination. There's a desire in all of us to know why things happen the way they do. We want explanations, reasons, and something to make sense of the chaos. But life doesn't always give us that luxury. Some things will happen to you, around you, and within you that you just won't understand. And that's hard to accept, especially when you're someone who likes to have answers. But sometimes letting go of the need to understand is the only way to find peace. When you constantly search for answers, you get stuck in your head, you replay events, dissect conversations, and try to find meaning in every detail. But in doing that, you lose the ability to just be present. You become so focused on trying to understand the past or predict the future that you miss out on what's right in front of you. Letting go of the need to understand isn't about ignorance. It's about choosing to live in the present. God didn't promise that everything would make sense. He often works in ways that are beyond our comprehension. There are things that he sees that we can't, plans that he's setting into motion that we won't understand until much later. That's why faith is so important. Faith is trusting that even without understanding, there's a purpose. It's believing that there's a reason, even if you can't see it yet. Letting go of the need to understand is a form of surrender. It's saying, I don't have to know why this happened. I just have to trust that it's part of the plan. It's freeing yourself from the weight of needing everything to make sense. When you let go, you make space for peace to come in. You allow yourself to live without the constant questioning, without the endless need for explanations. You might not understand why something happened, but that doesn't mean it didn't have a purpose. Sometimes understanding comes years down the line, and sometimes it never comes. But that doesn't mean your experiences are any less valuable. Every moment, every challenge, every setback is shaping you. Even if you don't see how, trust that it's all leading you somewhere, even if the path isn't clear. So, release the need to understand every detail. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't make sense right now. You're not in control of every outcome, and that's okay. Let go and let God fill in the gaps. Let him handle the parts that are too big for you to comprehend. Because when you stop needing to understand everything, you make room for something greater, peace. There's so much in life that you can't control, no matter how hard you try. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control the outcome of every situation. And you certainly can't control the twists and turns life takes. But what you can control is your response, your actions, and your mindset. And when you start focusing on what you can control, you find a sense of peace, a sense of strength that's unshakable. When you put your energy into things outside of your control, you end up frustrated, stressed, and feeling like a victim of circumstance. But when you focus on what you can control, you take back your power. You realize that even if you can't control every situation, you can control how you react to it. That's where your true strength lies, not in trying to manipulate life, but in managing your response to it. Focusing on what you can control means letting go of things that don't serve you. It's about choosing to let go of bitterness, to rise above anger, and to choose peace even when things around you are chaotic. It's a choice you make every day, in every situation. You can't change the world, but you can change how you show up in it. You can choose kindness, choose resilience, and choose to be better instead of bitter. When you start focusing on what you can control, you'll notice a shift. Suddenly, life doesn't feel so overwhelming. You're no longer trying to control everything outside of you. Instead, you're focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. You're working on your attitude, your actions, your mindset. And that's powerful because when you change, your world changes with you. God never asked you to control everything. He just asked you to be faithful to what's in front of you, to take care of your part, and to trust him with the rest. When you focus on what you can control, you're choosing to let God handle the big picture. You're saying, I'll do my best and I'll leave the rest to you. And that brings a peace that trying to control everything never could. So focus on what you can control and let go of the rest. Don't waste time and energy on things that are out of your hands. Work on yourself, show up with integrity, choose a positive mindset, and leave the big stuff to God. When you do that, you're not just letting go, you're stepping into a life that's more peaceful, more focused, and more aligned with who you truly are. There are times when you feel misunderstood, like nobody gets you. Even those closest to you might not fully understand what you're going through, what your dreams are, what you're struggling with. But God does. He knows you better than anyone else ever could. He knows your heart, your thoughts, your fears, and your dreams. And that's something powerful to remember when you're feeling lost or uncertain. God knows what you're capable of, even when you doubt yourself. He sees your potential, see greatness within you, even if you don't. You might look at yourself and see flaws, weaknesses, things you wish you could change. But God sees beyond all of that. He sees the strengths you don't see, the resilience you build up through every trial. He knows what you're made of because He created you. When you're in a tough season, remember that God knows why you're there. He knows the purpose behind every struggle, every detour, every delay. You might not understand it, but He does. And sometimes that's enough. Knowing that you're not alone, that someone understands you completely, can bring a sense of peace. You don't have to have it all figured out because He already does. God knows what you need before you even ask. He knows what will truly make you happy, what will bring you joy and fulfillment. Sometimes we chase things that we think will make us happy only to find out they leave us empty. But God knows what will truly satisfy your soul. He knows what's best for you, even if it doesn't align with what you think you want. So when you're feeling lost, when you're questioning your worth or your purpose, remember that God sees you. He knows you completely, and He loves you just as you are. He's not focused on your mistakes or your failures. He's focused on your potential, your growth, your journey. Trust in that. Trust that you're known and loved by the one who knows you better than anyone else ever could. In our busy lives, being still can feel like a luxury. We're constantly on the go, moving from one task to another, always looking for the next thing to accomplish. But in the noise of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of what matters. It's easy to miss the guidance that God is trying to give you because you're too busy to listen. Being still isn't about doing nothing. It's about creating a space for God's voice to come through. It's about giving yourself permission to pause and reflect. When you're always moving, you're running on autopilot. You're reacting to life instead of intentionally responding to it. But when you take the time to be still, you allow yourself to reset. You give yourself the chance to think, to connect with your purpose, and to realign with your values. Stillness creates a kind of clarity that busyness never can. It gives you a moment to breathe, to release stress, and to hear what God is trying to tell you. Being still can be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to a fast-paced life. When you're still, all the thoughts and worries you've been pushing aside start to come up. But those moments of discomfort are necessary. They're a part of growth. They're opportunities to face what you've been avoiding, to address what's been holding you back. In those quiet moments, God can reveal things to you that you wouldn't notice otherwise. Listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about understanding the message behind them. When you're still and open, you start to pick up on things you might have missed before. Maybe it's a thought, an insight, or a new perspective. Maybe it's a feeling of peace or a nudge in a new direction. These moments are God's way of guiding you, of helping you see the path He's laid out for you. But if you're too busy to listen, you might miss out on the wisdom He's offering. In stillness, you can hear your thoughts more clearly, but more importantly, you can hear God's voice. You might be surprised by what comes up when you give yourself the time and space to truly listen. God's guidance often comes in whispers, not shouts. He doesn't force His will on you. He invites you to seek it. By creating moments of stillness, you're saying, I'm here and I'm ready to listen. And that's when real transformation can begin. So make time to be still, even if it's just a few minutes a day. Put away the distractions, silence the noise, and open yourself to God's voice. In that quiet space, you'll find clarity, guidance, and peace that you can't find anywhere else. You'll learn to trust the stillness, to see it as a source of strength rather than a weakness, and to recognize it as a powerful tool in your relationship with God. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in your life. When you focus on what you're thankful for, you start to see the world in a different light. You shift from a mindset of lack to one of abundance. You stop focusing on what you don't have and start appreciating all that you do have. Gratitude is a choice, and it has the power to transform your life. When you let gratitude lead, you're opening your heart to more blessings. It's easy to get caught up in what's missing and the things that aren't going your way. But focusing on those things only brings more frustration, more dissatisfaction. When you choose gratitude, you're choosing to acknowledge the blessings that are already present. You're choosing to see the good even in difficult situations. Gratitude isn't about ignoring your problems. It's about finding the beauty in the midst of them. It's about recognizing that even in the toughest times, there's something to be thankful for. When you make gratitude a habit, you start to notice the small things that bring you joy. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face, the laughter of a friend, or the comfort of a quiet evening. These are the moments that make life rich, that fill your heart with contentment. And when you focus on these small blessings, you create a sense of peace that's not dependent on external circumstances. You realize that joy isn't something you find, it's something you create through gratitude. Gratitude also deepens your relationship with God. When you thank Him for your blessings, you're acknowledging His presence in your life. You recognize that every good thing comes from Him, that He's guiding you and providing for you, even in ways you might not fully understand. Gratitude is an act of faith, a way of saying, I trust that you are taking care of me. And that faith brings comfort, even when things aren't perfect. Living with gratitude doesn't mean you won't face challenges, but it does mean you'll face them with a different mindset. You'll be able to see the lessons in each struggle and the growth in each setback. You'll find strength in knowing that no matter what, you have things to be thankful for. This perspective doesn't make the challenges disappear, but it does make them easier to bear. Gratitude turns obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. So let gratitude be your guide. Start and end each day by reflecting on what you're thankful for. Let that sense of thankfulness fill your heart, your mind, your spirit. When you live with gratitude, you're choosing to focus on the positive, to acknowledge God's presence in every part of your life. And with that choice, you open the door to even more blessings, to a life that's rich with joy, peace, and purpose.